As an actor, I am fascinated with stories.
It's amazing that something like this still exists.
And Singapore is a perfect source for this.
Whoa!
What surprises does it hide? Or mysteries to answer?
Oh.
Join me, Adrian, as I go on a journey to explore and unravel Singapore's secrets, here on History Mysteries.
You know, we all probably remember from our history lessons back in school that the British forces made a blunder during World War II by positioning their artillery facing the wrong direction because they were expecting that the Japanese would attack by sea from the south when actually they attacked overland from the north. But is that actually true? And you know, when you think about those unused guns and cannons, what probably comes to mind are the popular tourist attractions on Sentosa like Fort Siloso and Mount Imbiah Battery. But did you know there's actually another artillery position right here on Labrador Park?
Just minutes away from Singapore's central business district sits Labrador Park and Nature Reserve. Featuring a breezy waterfront promenade, the park is a big draw for visitors looking for a tranquil place to unwind. The adjacent nature reserve is part of the Southern Ridges, which also comprises Mount Faber Park, Teluk Blangah Hill Park, and Kent Ridge Park. The entire area is steeped in history. This narrow channel between the shore at Labrador and Sentosa has served as the gateway to the deep waters of what is now known as Keppel Harbour since the 1400s. And scattered all around Labrador Park are remnants and reminders of a storied military past. In the 1890s, the British military started building a network of forts, pillboxes, gun batteries, and bunkers in this area and on Sentosa as part of a strategy to defend Singapore's southern and western coasts from potential invaders.
But Labrador Park is famous, or should I say infamous, for something else. Now, legend has it that there's a secret tunnel that lies in the channel between Labrador Park and Sentosa. Now, for decades, it's been speculated that this tunnel existed in order to transport goods between the two forts and also served as an escape route for the British forces in case one of the forts fell. So, is there any truth to this rumor that Labrador Park and Sentosa is connected by a secret tunnel? So tell me, have you heard of any rumors of a secret tunnel that links Labrador Park with Sentosa?
Oh, no, I've not heard of any secret tunnels that links Labrador to Sentosa.
Yeah, I've heard something about a tunnel, even though I don't exactly know where is it.
I heard from my friends, so there's a bulk tunnel here to Labrador Park Tunnel or something like that.
Is it like some military hideout?
Is it? It could be. What have you heard?
I just know that Labrador Park was part of like the World War II, one of their locations. I'm not very sure.
I know of like tunnels that existed, and yeah, if you walk in up the hill, you'll actually see tunnels and like graveyards, etc. But I'm not sure that it actually links to Sentosa.
To solve this age-old mystery of a tunnel built between Labrador Park and Sentosa, we call on an expert. Jeature Ayadure, who specializes in military history and has led many high-profile heritage projects, including a groundbreaking historical study of Labrador Park.
So, Jaya, I understand that there's an entire network of secret tunnels and bunkers that were discovered in this area not very long ago. Is that right?
Well, yes, there are loads of gun positions, and the tunnels led to underground magazines that supported the guns on top of them, and they were part of an elaborate coastal artillery fort. You had tunnels from the 1870s, all right up to the Second World War.
Well, let's take a look at these guns.
This is a gun from the 1890s. So it was a joy working with national parks because as we discovered this barrel, and Parks then took on the project to create the rest of the gun emplacement. The barrel is original, the rest were actually recreated by Singapore's gun makers. All right, Singapore Ordnance. And the police wanted us to plug it with cement. I said, what? You cannot see the beautiful rifling inside. So we suggested instead that we put a glass plug. So kids and anyone can actually look through that cannon, all right, look through that gun and see the beautiful rifling inside. The rifling that would help you project accurately the shell to hit against an enemy ship. Over here, you have those same mechanism. You want to go up and try it out?
Yes, I will.
All right.
Okay.
You've got a shoulder pad. You've got those mechanisms that will
this turns
move.
so
the gun
work.
barrel.
They work in tandem, do these?
Yeah. So this by itself, and then that for up and down.
Okay. So this one makes it go up and down. There's elevation, and this one turns
Sideways,
it left and right.
left or right. All right. So these were the mechanisms that would help you move the guns. You know, and so beautiful machinery.
Absolutely.
To bring history alive.
Absolutely.
But we talked about the underground magazines.
Yes.
Well, let me show you an entrance to one.
Fantastic.
All right. We're now walking into Labrador Battery, a position that was modernized in the 1930s.
Okay. So, in all history textbooks, and from my memory of my history classes from way back, my understanding is that the British military got it wrong and that they had positioned all their military might facing the wrong way. Now, is that a fact or not?
You know the famous General Percival? He was a staff officer in Malaya Command at Fort Canning.
Right.
And he did an appreciation of the situation paper.
Right.
And he declared the Japanese are not going to attack Singapore from the sea.
Okay.
They're going to attack us by landing at Singora, Patani in Thailand, Kota Baru, Kuantan, Endau, and Mersing, and they're going to come from the north.
Right.
So by that time, plans for the guns were already in an advanced stage. By 1939, we already had the guns installed over here, for example. And they said, okay, leave the guns where they are to defend Singapore in the south, all right? But we will push all our troops to the north. And that is why the Indian Army, the British Army, the Australian Army was sent into Malaya to prevent the Japanese from landing along the east coast of Malaya and preventing them using those roads to attack Singapore from the north.
Right,
So the
right.
troops defended us from the north. The guns
the artillery
defended
was
us,
here. Right,
the coastal
right, right.
artillery defended us from an attack from the sea.
This wasn't true at all that they
Not
put all their
true.
chips into this one
Position.
basket.
No, it's a myth that refuses to go.
Okay. Wow, okay, a lot of information right here, but I still want to know about this secret tunnel, Jaya.
All right, we will go and see, all right, and discover the story behind the secret tunnels to Sentosa.
Yes, please.
All right,
Now, let's do it.
go. This is the entrance that goes into massive chambers inside with their own hoist lifts to bring the ammunition to the surface where the guns are.
I see, so this
So
is
we
a
are-
magic entrance into the tunnel.
The gun chambers.
Okay, so Jaya, is this the fabled secret tunnel that links Labrador Park to Sentosa?
Well, I'll share a little bit about that for you later. This one is a tunnel that leads to the underground chambers. All right? So this is the entrance to that long tunnel that goes into the chambers deep inside, the massive chambers inside. You would have had a long track that would allow you to roll the ammunition along the floor. And then as you go in, if someone else is coming out, there was actually a lay-by because it's long enough.
Right, like a hard shoulder, right.
So you've got to go to the hard shoulder, let the guy go past, and then continue inwards.
It looks really deep. My torch is not doing anything to illuminate.
Because that's
this
how deep
darkness.
it is. And when you go in, it breaks out into two sections, on your right and your left, for massive rooms on your right and left, and then hoist areas to bring the ammunition to the surface at the top.
You've been
Several times.
in there several times. When did they close this up?
Around the early 2000s.
Right. And were people allowed to come in before?
Initially they were. And then there was questions about safety and
Right.
all that, and then they decided to close down.
Okay, now Jerry, you've been teasing about this secret tunnel business. All this while, I insist that you tell me whether it exists or not right now.
Well, you know, there is no tunnel through here to Sentosa.
Okay, this is not
And
it.
I know there's been so much talk about this. And, you know, it's so interesting how once a legend comes up, it takes a long time to be put down.
Are you going to show it?
I'm
this?
going to show it to you.
Okay,
We'll
let's
down
go,
to the
please.
sea.
Okay,
All right?
let's do it. Okay, Jaya. Now this is what we've been talking about. Okay, now I saw a video of these two youths exploring this area and discovering this, and they went inside, and from what they could see, the path actually branches off into two directions.
One going up and one going down?
Yes, correct, yes.
Okay. You are suggesting that what the boys discovered was the tunnel from Labrador, all right, and the battery position at the top of the hill, to Sentosa over there where Fort Siloso is. But imagine how expensive it would have been to build that, going deep down. And the reason why Keppel was chosen was because it was a deep water harbor, so you could go really deep, then cutting across, then getting out there. And what purpose would it have served? Because they could have easily gone very cheaply between these two positions. So this was an interesting hypothesis.
Right.
And so we did a lot of research on that actually, because we kept hearing that story.
Yeah.
And we think we've come across what could have set this story off.
Yeah.
You see, what happened was that as they started building these forts, and this is the entrance into the harbor, in the late 1870s and 1880s, the British started laying submarine mines, creating a minefield under the water. This whole stretch was covered with minefields and a safety passage. And they had two kinds of mine systems. One was linked by cables.
Okay.
They had 8 large 500-pounder mines set in 2 rows of 4 each between Labrador and Siloso. So there would have been a shaft that ran down with the cables, armored cables that would run right through to the waters. And the mines would have been attached to those cables. And then the cables would have run all across to Siloso, where there would have been the fire command center, where when you press a button, all 8 charges would have exploded. And those were just one type of mines. There were also EC or electrocontact mines.
Right.
So if a ship came close to it, it would have exploded.
I see.
And so all that would have required work from here. So imagine you need to put the cables through. So there would have been work here, and they would have been laying the cable over the seabed.
Okay.
So all that would have given the impression that a tunnel was being built between Labrador and Siloso.
So you seem to be leading me to this conclusion that that was the actual real purpose of this.
So that tunnel between
Rather than
Labrador
this
and
supposed
Siloso
tunnel.
is an urban legend. There has been no proof of it at all.
Right, so we can definitively conclude that all those rumors of a secret tunnel can be laid to rest. There is no tunnel linking Labrador Park and Sentosa.
Labrador is not only known for its mysterious network of tunnels, it is also one of these places in Singapore that is high on the spookiness scale, especially after dark. I spoke with Nadia, who claims to be sensitive to such supernatural activity. Her most recent encounter was while on a night walk at Labrador Park with a group of friends.
When I was walking at the hallway, I sensed that someone was actually like looking at me. And then I felt breathing over my neck. And I turned, the door closed. And I heard someone say, "Get up."
Get out. Oh my goodness. Rumors of Labrador Park being haunted have existed for years. And after listening to Nadia about her encounter, I decided I needed an explanation from an expert in the paranormal field. Meet Noel Boyd, one of Singapore's most well-known paranormal investigators who has led numerous investigations around Singapore's paranormal hotspots.
What is it about Labrador Park that makes it so special?
Well, I think it's the dark history. You talk about World War II, a lot of happened there. the fact that a lot of the old artifacts still around, and to me, right, I always felt that artifacts like this contain a lot of energy, residual energy. So whenever we go there, we always get really good results. Yeah, we always do. So that place has never failed me.
Could you tell me a couple of stories of your own experiences at Labrador Park?
The one that comes to mind would be this entity by the name of Bob.
Who gave him that name?
No,
Bob, the entity, Bob.
So we have this device here called the spirit box, right? So it either runs on the AM or FM band. So we use the AM band because we don't have a lot of radio stations on AM. So you can adjust the speed, and then you start asking questions. If the entity wants to speak to you, it speaks to you through this.
Oh my goodness.
So then people will say, oh, you know, you could just pick up one of the stations and then you hear a word. So that happens quite a bit, to be honest.
Right.
But on this one night when my wife, right, she was part of my team, and we had this other guy that flew in from England just to be a part of the investigation.
Right.
So they were standing there and they were trying to communicate, and then they heard the word Bob. And then they asked this spirit to repeat. And they repeated again, Bob. And it said Bob again. And
It
Bob,
actually responded with the name.
Yeah, so Bob is a soldier who died during the war. Apparently he thinks that he's still alive and he's protecting the place.
So what you've just told me, is that something that Bob himself has told you, or is this an assumption you've made? Or
No. We have the evidence because it's all on camera. Yeah, and I would love to show it to you. Let me show you this portion of the clip that we have.
Your name? Come closer to the box.
That's the first one.
Can you please tell us your name?
I heard that.
Bob or something like that. Okay, Bob. If your name is Bob.
And then he says it
again.
Yeah, Bob. Nice
Three
to meet you,
times.
Bob. Bob again.
So that's why it's amazing. You know, footage like this or the evidence that we got at Labrador, it's amazing because we hardly get stuff like this, which is legit. We may get one word, that's it. And then we go like, can we count that as evidence? Most of the time I don't. But this time round, yeah. I mean, if we hear Bob like, well, I counted 4 times. Right. Then to me, that's compelling evidence.
So was there anything further on from there? You said you felt a kind of presence, but was there anything
No, we didn't
substantial?
capture anything here, but then we captured stuff later on. We even captured a face right at the end because we knew that we were being followed.
It's captured on camera. It's in the video?
Yeah, it's in the video.
Okay.
There's no explanation why they should be happening.
What is that?
No explanation whatsoever. Gone past all the other lights and haven't there.
Wait, this kind of flashed in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So you only discovered this this face
in post.
In post when you left the place. Right. So this is another part.
Yeah, this is a tunnel. There's quite a few at Labrador. So this one's got a gate, so you can't go further than this. So we place a static cam here just to see whether we could detect anything. Our static camera captured this, a dark mass that moved from the wall into the tunnel. Look at that.
Yeah, I see it. I mean, the tunnel looks creepy as hell anyway. I mean, really, it's the stuff of kind of horror movie nightmares. But to see that figure cross when obviously there's nothing that would have blocked the light.
You know, with paranormal encounters all around the world, shadows, it's the most common. Right? So people see them in their homes, in their bedrooms, when they're out in a park. Yeah, so what we captured here is it's something a lot of people have seen.
Cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Adrian.
Well, I guess the only way to find out if Labrador Park is as scary as some people make it out to be is to come here at night and experience it for myself, which is what we're going to do right now. Ooh. Well, it's really dark, it's really late, and I can see why some people might think this place is spooky, but to be honest, for me, there's a strange sense of peacefulness here. I like it. Well, the next time someone says that Singapore is boring, I would suggest that they pay a visit to Labrador Park. Now, I came here to unravel the mystery of this legendary tunnel that connects Labrador Park with Sentosa, but I'm leaving with a much deeper understanding of the rich maritime and military history of one of Singapore's most important heritage sites. See you on the next episode of History Mysteries.